Hello, in this video I will show you how to put together this little candy jar, which is a 3D SVG file from Simply Crafty SVGs. So here's the pieces of my candy jar. Obviously it's not a jar, it's a paper candy jar. Anyways, I like to do different shapes, and I've always wanted to do a candy jar shape. So this is one I designed probably about a year before this video, so I just never finished it. So that's a lot of what I was doing this month, and this is May of 2022, and this is what I was doing. I was kind of been going through lately and getting some old stuff. So I think these are fun because it can be used for anything. But let's go ahead, and these are the panels. So this is the same color as this, but you'll notice there's no tabs on it. So these are the panels. Then there's some window panels, and then those are some top and front panels. So, and then we have the lid and the actual pieces for the jar. So let's go ahead, let's do the jar first. So we'll do the lid. So the lid, in my opinion, is more involved. It's just a little bit more time to hold it. Nothing's really that hard on this one. It's just a matter of this one's a little bit finicky. So it's not finicky, it's fine. It just takes a little bit more time. So this is the piece that will hold the jar. So we want to just go ahead and pre-fold this, or the lid, what did I say, the jar. So just go ahead and pre-fold this on the scores. So it'll just go like this and stick out for the lid to go on. These are the sides. So as you can see, it goes like this. So those are the sides. And then we have these two pieces. So you want to go ahead and fold these on the scores. So just go ahead and get those pre-folded. It makes it easier. So that's going to go like this on the top. So this is the bottom part. So this is the bottom and this is the front, and that's the back. Okay. So with that in mind, these tabs have to be facing towards the front. So that's the front. So they're going to go like this, like that, and they're going to fold up. So we're going to go ahead and attach those. So I'm using American Craft textured cardstock. And today I'm using Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. I've recently been trying it more than Art Glitter Glue, but I still like Art Glitter Glue. So we're going to line these. Just make sure that this tab you have them situated not the opposite way. So you want it to, this is the textured side, so and it's facing towards the front, which is this little piece right here. So we're going to go ahead and line this up. So we're going to glue these on both sides. So I'm lining this edge up to the tab fold. I realized I never finished my sentence. I tend to do that, so make sure you have it the correct way again. And I do like the tip on this particular bottle. They come with these tips, and they have tips that can close too. So it's kind of cool. I just never took the time to use the bottle, but I like it. I wanted to give it a try because it allows me to craft longer without refilling my bottle. So I'm just lining that up. So I was just careful to make sure that the ends lined up correctly, because it'll help everything else go together okay. So the next thing we want to do is to glue this piece to this. So we have one big piece. So this is the tab that goes inside. So we'll just add glue to this and then line this up right here. And we don't want to put the panels on until get closer. One panel we can put on is the non-curved panels. I don't think there's only really one non-curved panel. Oops. So make sure you don't go over that fold line. Right up to it. There's a little bit. It's probably about a point 0.001 or 0.01 probably or less off on the left. It's pretty forgiving. It doesn't really. I'm just folding this up. So I found that we can go ahead and put this, so we can flatten this. I'm going to take this, not that panel, this panel. So it's optional whether you want it, but if you want it, this is the time to put it on there. So you don't want to line it up in the middle, you want to line it up on the edges. Because I had it so just in case you needed to put it on after the fact, after you put this little insert in, that it would fit. So that's my reasoning. But it is the best time to put it on. Before you put the insert, it's the easiest time to put it on. Or you can leave it off. So originally I designed it without the front, without this panel in the front, but I thought it looked kind of funny. Well, it didn't look quite finished to me with the panels on the other side, so. But it's a crafter, you can change it up, you can make it something different. You can leave things off, put more things on, all that fun, and all that jazz. So the next thing we want to do, for here, I folded it this way, but we really need to fold them backwards because what we're going to do is we're going to glue it in here, but these tabs are going to fold backwards. So what I want to do is fold it backwards here, gently, after you already folded it the other way. So then I'm just going to use my bone folder to get a nice crisp score. So I'm just putting it against the table and getting it trained to go the other way. And it helps to already fold it this way. And then you can gently score it the other way. The other thing you could do for this piece, if you wanted to, but it's not set up to do that, these are all the little tweaks set over time. You could always cut it upside down, if you have textured paper and you want textured paper to be on the outside, because that's truly the only reason I'm doing this. You could put it upside down on a mat and just so it would fold that way naturally. So here we go. So I was just training it. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue this shut. So I'm just adding tab to this, glue to this little tab. I'm just going to fold it over like that and line it up, top and bottom. It should line up naturally where it needs to fall. So now you have this little rectangle. So you can either just slide it in, you can go this way, or you can go the other way. Oops. The other reason I didn't have that panel go to the edge is if somebody messed up and put it too far over, it would hinder sliding this through. Believe it or not, that hole is a little bit bigger than what it needs to be. So I'm just guiding it in carefully, and it will come flat once I get it glued on the back. So here now we can go ahead and add glue to this little tab. You're going to want to make sure it's pulled all the way through though here. So we're just going to go ahead and push it through. So I'm making sure that this edge is lined up to the inside tab fold. Let's do the opposite side. Fortunately, you really don't need a panel to hide anything inside because, just pushing it all the way through again, because it's, these will, once it's closed up, you won't see the tabs. And then we'll do these two other side tabs. So the reason I did this first is when you glue it shut, it just gets harder to get your hands in there. That's all. So the way this is going to go together, this can glue on the outside. So the other tab could have glued on the outside, but it's just easier on the inside flat. So we're just going to glue it like this. So we're going to fold it, as long as you have it scored, it's just going to fold up like that. Then on the back, it's going to just fold around like this. I mean, you get the gist, okay? So, let's get that started. Let's start with the little section. So we have these little tabs right here. We're going to add glue to them. And everybody's different, so I'm going to show you two different methods of doing this. So if I put glue on those, and then I fold them kind of up against the table, and then I fold in. Let's see if you can see. Basically, I'm wrapping those underneath. So I just want to change it up a little bit so you can, this is in the way. Let me fold this back so you can see it. So start from right here, from the big tab, and then just push it in as it goes around. And I'll show you the other side, but you want to go tab by tab. And make sure that you've got that, you push in this edge is going to be in the inside tab folds of these. So and I'll do that method again on the other side so you can see it if you're like, what did she do? So pre-fold them. So here you can simply use your, when it's this small of a section, be careful with the glue. Not the right angle here. I was worrying too much about the camera for the start. You could go like this. There's going to be a panel on the outside here, so if we get a little glue on the outside, it's okay. That's why we're putting the tabs on the outside. So you can go tab by tab, kind of go to the next one, and the final one, which is the one that really is the most important in my book. So that's what it looks like on both sides. So for here, honestly, I think this is the easiest way to do it. So hopefully I can get a good angle for you. Add glue to all the tabs. Make sure that they don't dry up, so put enough on there so once you get to the last tab, it'll still be able to go on. But if you need to do half at a time, go about 3 or 4 and then stop and then do the rest of them. Same method though. So we're going to start here we're going to fold over. So I know this is in your way and I can't get it out of the way, but these should be, see, I'm pushing down to make them up so the glue is on this side. And then I'm going to fold it around. So I apologize, you hear dogs barking, but this is a critical part and I can't re-tape that. So I'm going around. Applying pressure, as you can see. And I'm pushing it in as against each section, like that. Till I get to the top here. Like that. So this is what it looks like on the outside. So basically we're just wrapping it around and then making sure that the edge of this panel sits into the inner fold. Whenever you do something circular or shaped like this, to me it's the old school way, or other, I can say old school, other ways is you could just put the panel on top and line around. But I say it's almost worth an extra piece of paper to do it this way. It makes it sturdier. And I think generally, not all, it's generally easier for a lot of people. It makes it more of a beginner project than, not beginner, kind of beginner to intermediate rather than trying to line them up. I remember doing my first ones where I had to line up the tabs and just line the tabs on it. And it was like, I'm not quite sure I like that. But anyways. But the manual way of doing it is the same way. Start at the bottom. If you don't like, you didn't understand. But basically it's the same as doing this against a table. It's just I'm using my fingertips as the pressure, and I can't see on the other side. That's the drawback. I'm pushing this in to make sure that the edge comes in here, inside, and I can look inside. But that's the drawback for me, is I can see it. You couldn't see it on the video, but I could. And I only put glue on a couple of them. So let me finish this off. And I'll do it this way. Again, I'm pushing this in. Same thing. You would do the same thing if it were against the table. Pushing this in as I glue each tab. And then the last one needs to be flush, so it sits flush on the front. Just folded that down so it wasn't in the way. So if I want to get extra, if I did it that way and you needed extra pressure, you could still go in there with your fingertips, either reach in or do something like with like a wood chopstick is what I'm using to apply more pressure. So that's what it looks on both sides. And then now we can just simply, we're just going to glue this, add glue to these 3 tabs. So it really isn't that hard of a box, in my opinion. I mean, it seems difficult, but it's kind of a satisfying type of project. Kind of looks 3D-ish. I mean, you know, looks like that more work went into it than it did. I think that's my take on it. I hope others think that too. So I just, once I got glue on all 3, just line it up first. I'm just going to push it. I'm going to get that bottom tab underneath. And of course I have the ability to reach in, which is always a benefit. And really get it glued well here and on the edges here. So you can see it's taken shape. I'm going to put these 2 panels on, the 2 remaining panels. So this one's going to go right here. So you want to curl it a little bit, and you could either curl it with something like a bone folder on the edge of a table, I'm just doing it lightly because it gives me a nice slight curve using this. The other thing I like to use is my stylus, because it's a fairly good size for this, which I can kind of rub it and get a curl in there. So you don't need a lot of tools, but you can see it's just almost exactly what I needed it to be, right there. And you could really only put glue on the top and bottom, but I tend to go on the sides. And to me, if this is truly like a can, there's two purposes for this. I think this is like this. Yeah. Oh no, it didn't line up. I thought it lined up, but it didn't. But that's okay. If somebody's going to use this, if you intended this to be used a little bit longer term, or just for a gift, you just want it to be nice and sturdy if somebody decides to use it a little bit longer. So it should fit the whole section, but you have a little gap there for that blue, which is fine. It kind of gives it a little contrast. And so the same thing here, we want a little curl. I'm going to do it this way. Like that. And then there's a little score in this. You'll want to make sure it lines up there. So for this one, I'm going to just put a little glue there. A little glue near the score, towards the bottom, and just maybe a little bit on the edges. You don't even necessarily need the ones on the edges. But what I'm going to do is line it up, just lightly. Want to make sure that I can, this lines up at the fold there. The score lines up where it's folded. Make sure it's centered. And then you can go ahead and add. It doesn't even have to be that perfect. I was trying to pick some fun colors, but I didn't really, anyways, I wanted blue, but I couldn't really find the right paper. So I'm not even sure this is the right paper I wanted, but I thought this would be a fun everyday candy jar, because I'm probably going to use it on my desk, because I like to have hard candies and stuff available when I'm crafting. So there's that. So it's almost done, right? We just need to get the sides and then get a lid created. So let's get the sides. So I'm just going to get my fingertips wiped of the excess glue because I'm working with acetate. And I actually use transfer sheets. I was lucky enough to get access to transfer sheets. My friend, a good friend of mine who passed away in 2014. In 2014, I've been using them ever since. She had a box of transfer sheets. You can get acetate, obviously, but this is clear enough to make windows, so I've been using it for windows. So, lucky me. So you can see these are just going to go like this, and there's more of a rounded look on the inside, on the outside. So this is slightly smaller, so it should fit. So make sure you figure out which one goes with which before you start gluing, because I've made that mistake. So this, I want the textured out, so it's upside down. And then for the transfer paper, I have a one slick side, because this is actually printable transfer paper. So now I know which way it goes. I'm going to go ahead and add glue around here. So you won't see this, so you can be as messy as you want. Maybe in the inside, so try not to get as much on the inside. That was my bad, because it's a little bit bigger in the middle than it is for the other one. So I'll demonstrate on the second one. So you can see how this is in here. We don't want it to be seen on the edge. So it's slightly smaller. So be careful with glue on your fingertips. So the second one, when I said that you can glue on the edges, but don't get too close to that middle opening. Oops. I didn't put enough to keep it wet, so I gotta go over it. Don't want it falling off, especially if I'm going to use it regularly. It'd be fun if you made these a little, I think these would be fun if you made them just a little bit smaller, and I wonder how hard it would be to make them like half size or 75 and put like some embellishments in it. That would be fun. Just the lid gets a little bit difficult, but you could simplify the lid. So I'll explain that when we get to it. It's quite simple to simplify the lid. So we'll go ahead and put these on the side. So we'll put one on, I'll show you one, and then the other one I'll put on off camera, and then we'll move on to the lid. So what I would do here is not put glue on the bottom. Carefully add glue around and get close to the edge. Because we're going to glue this on. And the reason why the inside's a little bit bigger is because I wanted to round it. And I wanted to make sure that no glue showed through. I have to have the correct one though. Make sure you have the right. There. Make sure that no glue showed through. I have the wrong one. I had the right one the first time. Okay. So line this edge up. Straight edge is going to be the easiest way. And then the bottom straight edge. Don't line the top and this curved part. It's a little bit more curved. It's not as jaggedy, so it's not going to match up exactly, but you won't even notice. That was the intentional thing. So once you get these sides lined up, and make sure this kind of goes along with the curve, that curve down there, it'll be all good to go. And because I have glue on my fingertips, I'm being really careful. I got a little glue. And since it's still open, you can go ahead and add, whoops, let's go ahead and get this, because this is, wood's not as rough. So if you can see inside, you kind of can see that this is, you can't really, but it's actually, if you're looking straight inside, you can see that this opening's slightly smaller on this outside panel. But somebody looking in, if it's full of stuff, you really can't tell. So that's the beauty of it. This one I got a little glue on because I put it on the wrong side, so make sure you have the correct side. Let me get that first because it looks like that's coming up just a little bit. The flatter it is, the easier it will be to glue that on. So we'll go ahead and put this on, and then we'll go on to the lid. So you can see I put that other side on, and with this side, once I get it set in place, I could just rub around the edges and then apply pressure this way. So you can't reach in, but because it's flat mostly, it works. So now we just need the lid to finish this off. So I decided to go with kind of a metallic blue, which is a die cuts with a view metallic cardstock. I'm not sure if they still sell it, but I had quite a bit. I have a little glue on my fingertips. Should have got rid of that during my little break there. Anyways, we have these 3 pieces. So we want to go ahead and fold this. So the only drawback, I mean, you could use a regular cardstock. The only drawback with using metallic, there's a couple of drawbacks with using metallic. So with metallic, if glue sometimes it takes longer for glue to adhere because we're adhering to metallic. This is not the shiniest, it's easier to glue. The other thing is glue shows up on it, so you got to be really careful with glue. And this is white core, so when you fold it over, it looks white. So, but you can ink the edges. So there's a couple things you can do. I already have one made. So this is what it looks like, and I had already inked a little bit. Just trying to make sure that it goes together okay. Oh, the other thing, yes, since the glue doesn't adhere as it takes longer to adhere, some people might use score tape. That might be a good alternative rather than using glues. But I'm using glue still. So you want to be really careful with glue. I mean, you want to be careful with glue anyways, but with metallics it's even worse. So, in my book. So we're just going to go ahead and fold these so they're folded like that. That's my little, anybody who's used metallic glue already knows this is the issue. And if you fold there and then I fold backwards. And then fold down. If I were to make another one, I probably would, it depends on the theme. So I think it really depends on the paper you use. But I kind of wanted a fun, make it feel more like a real jar. So that's why I went with the metallic paper, even though it might look cleaner with, I know it would look cleaner with just regular solid core cardstock. So just depends on your wants. And this piece right here, if you wonder what it is, it's going to hide the tabs for that. That's going to get attached in there, and then it'll hide the tabs. So when we're folding this little tab here, fold it upward, down, and then up like that. Down and then up. So we're just training it to go back so we can glue it easily. So you can go flat. And that's the lid. So we can start from, we're just going to glue these edges underneath like that. So let me move this. Actually, let's do this one first because we want it good and dry before we attach this. So this one, it's just simply gluing these underneath. So let me get something. It's always handy to have stuff like, I don't know, you see these miniature clothespins. Almost forgot about what they're called. Those come in handy when it comes to lids. I don't think I need all 4, but I took 4 out anyways. But I'm going to add glue to this. Get it pretty close to the edge. I have a wet paper towel just to get excess because I told you it does show really well. And I'm going to line it up. Get it lined up really close here. What's nice is that you can use these, and I've used these before, I just don't show it as much on the videos, where you want it to hold a little bit longer for you, but you want to be able to do the rest of it. So we're just gluing this to the inside, just lining them up. I've found if I can't just use them right away, I have to make sure that a lot of it's adhered before I start doing it, because you just don't want the tip. You see where it attaches right there? You need it to go all the way to the top. So you can get bigger ones too, but it kind of holds it in place. I just don't want them to make indentations, so I'm careful when I use them. Fold that in here before I fold it up. It's gonna be stuck. One thing about this paper I don't like is that top, sometimes the top layer, the metallic layer, kind of comes up a little bit. I did a version with just plain metallic paper from, I think it's Tim Holtz. It was a there's craft paper on the back, but it's anyways, it was a little bit more difficult to glue together. I mean, it was okay, but that's super, like, I won't do a video with really shiny metallics anymore because, you know, I can't go like at a snail's pace, even though I know I go pretty slow for some people. But I have to go slow enough for the person that's never done anything before and fast enough for somebody that, well, anybody can forward through, but you can't go slower too much in YouTube. So, but that, I'm a messy crafter, so that's when I guess using something like score tape. I just think it might be a little bit difficult in this, but you do little pieces on here and just make sure before you get it all in the right place before you fold it down. Same thing here. So I'll let that dry. Don't need that. So we'll go ahead and start gluing this together. So this will glue underneath. So we'll start here. Doesn't really matter too much where you start. And then we're just going to line that edge up. And so I have to hold it just a little bit longer for this, for metallic. And then I get glue on that. Okay. So we're just going to go around and continue to glue those tabs underneath. You'll want to make sure, like my thumb has no glue on it that can get stuck on the paper. So as I continue to do this, I do ask if you do like this project or any of our projects. I always ask if you can give me a like on the video and or subscribe to our channel if you have not already done so. And if you hit that little notification bell to the right of subscribe, you'll be notified when we have new videos. Sometimes I do tutorials, but most of the time it'll tell you when we have a new assembly video. So when we get to the end here, we don't want to fold the top over until we get this closed. So we're going to add glue on both these tabs. I'm just going to fold that back so it's out of my way. I can fold these back and then they won't interfere with us. We want to go ahead, I've got a little glue on my fingertip here. I'm going to glue that top piece first, or the bottom, whichever one. The angled one's always, it's going to be either one. You just want to hold it before you do the second. Make sure you get it in place before you do the second. And you can always go back to it. See, I just pulled it away. It's my chubby fingers. I have little round fingers here. So as I said, if you didn't like the white core, you can go ahead and ink it. So you could use a small applicator. I like to use these. They're Fantastics. They still make them, and they're for ink, and so you can put ink on the edge and just get the edges. I like it for little things, so I just use any ink with it, or chalk. I'm not, I just test it usually on another spare piece of paper before just a spare, to see how it works and how it adheres. You don't need all the fancy ink. You can have cheap ink and still accomplish some of the same things as getting the expensive inks. So just keep that in mind. So I'm adding glue to these 3 tabs. I'm just going to fold it over gently. I want to make sure I line it up with the other side there and push in the sides a little bit, trying to avoid getting glue on my fingertips. Once we get it into place, we can kind of flip it over and then add pressure. And I'll use a wooden chopstick to do so. So I just went around the edges trying to get it a little bit more secure. If you wanted the edges a little bit more, something like a little stylus that has a ball at the end, so you can get towards the edge without, don't poke too hard because you don't want to poke it out, but so you can get more pressure along this edge right here. So making sure everything looks good. So this is where if you really want to go metallic, you need to be aware, but I do have a little bit of dry glue. Fortunately, this particular paper is a little bit more forgiving. And some of the glue can dry and you can just scratch it off depending on the type of glues you're using. So now, take those off. They created just a little bit of an indentation. You don't want to keep them on that long. Not with this kind of paper, at least. So now we're going to go ahead and just slide these tabs in. That hole is a little bit larger than it needs to be, so it makes it so you can slide them in. And then I usually just start with one side, kind of pushing it in so I can fold it over like that. Make sure your finger on the top is clean of any glue. Mine has a little bit, but it's dried. So this is metallic and it's a small tab, so you're going to want to have to hold it. Okay, so typically I'll hold it and do the other side at the same time. Then I can hold it like that. Get it in place. And if I get a little messy down here, it's okay because I have a little panel to cover it. Cover these tabs. So if there's a little glue leakage, I'd rather it get adhered than not. And you can make sure you push it in a little bit to make sure you can fold it backwards easily. So I got a little wet glue on my finger, so I want to get that off first. So you really do have to pay attention just because of the size of this. Okay. I'm just going to push that down a little bit. And then I'm going to hold that while I do the last one. A little bit of that blue's coming off on my fingertips, so let me just go ahead and one more time. I'm just cleaning up my fingertips, and then let's get this last tab. So to simplify, so as I pull this and hold this, to simplify this lid, let's say you wanted to size this down a little bit. And you can always put solid panels on them too. So if you were going to use this for, let's say, a little bit of storage and made it either 70% size, or really for small embellishments, it would be fun. If you wanted to make it smaller, which you could, what I would do is simplify the lid. And the lid, you just have a lid with no knob. And what you simply do, the top had no hole in it. In your program, you can actually just weld a square over it and make it solid. You'd have to ungroup it because it had score lines, and then add a square on top. Weld it using your software, or it could be, it's called a union, truly, but in Cricut it's weld, and in, I think in Silhouette, I can't remember, I know they have a weld, but I think that'd be union. Anyways, in other programs it's union. So you could just have a flat top, so you could just go like that, and then you wouldn't have this to put together. So that's just another option. It's a fun project to do. I may even make one myself. Got to see. I don't really have much room to put any extra things because I have a small room, but I might just do it for fun. There might be something I could use it for. Or it could be a super small gift box. I mean, with small things in it. Or like for M&Ms. So here I'm just go ahead and put that, and it hides it, makes it all clean. So now, just make sure that's good. We're finished. So you can always ink the edges, like I said, or chalk them, and then that just goes on like that. So then you can add your, this is actually a big thing, but I think it would be good for, you could put some wrapped candy in there. That would probably be what I would recommend. And it has to be candy that's no bigger than this. So you could make this smaller, but you don't want it much. It has to come out the hole, obviously. So that's it. Oh, it'd be a good gift to for a fellow scrapper too, if you want to put some fun little embellishments in there. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this project, and I thank you so much for watching, and until next time.